Nightmare mode can seem intimidating at first, but honestly, it is one of the most fun game modes in the whole game and the one that I probably play the most. So let's go over 7 tips that I think you should know before you start playing Nightmare mode on your own so you'll be better prepared. First is going to seem fairly obvious, but it's be familiar with every breaker location. The breaker is off by default on Nightmare mode, and it's also not visible on the mini-map in the truck. That means you should be familiar with every breaker location on every map so you can start by checking there right away. Typically, there's only a couple spots to choose from, and for the houses, it's typically in like the garage, basement, or storage room or attic. And the more you play, the better you'll familiarize yourself with the locations. And this is super important because you should be utilizing the lights on in the house to keep your sanity high, which leads me into my next tip, which is try to keep your sanity high until you get both pieces of evidence. If the ghost is constantly hunting you again and again and again, and you're struggling to get that annoying dots or ghost writing, freezing, EMF 5, it's just gonna make it unnecessarily hard. I like to try to keep my sanity high until I get both pieces of evidence and then start trying to rule out ghosts from there. This can take some time to get used to because the sanity board is broken in the truck, so you kind of just got to get a feeling for, do you feel like you've been in the dark for too long? Feel like it's taken a while? And if you do, just take a sanity pill to be safe. So make sure to keep lights on around the ghost room while you're trying to get the evidence. Stay in those lit areas. You can also hold a lit candle if you want, but it's not as feasible anymore since candles are time-based until you get tier 3. You just want to do what you can to mitigate that sanity loss until you get both pieces of evidence and know what you have to do from there. But if your sanity does happen to drop, my next tip, which is kind of true for every game, that's find hiding spots fast. So Nightmare mode especially, you have very few hiding spots on the map. So you want to make sure that you find where the open hiding spot is fast, so in case you do get hunted, you'll know exactly where you need to go. So if you're on your way to the breaker, you can search for hiding spots, or as soon as you turn on the breaker and start looking for the ghost room, look for those open hiding spots so you're well prepared for whenever the ghost does start hunting. And when the ghost does hunt you, when you run into that hiding spot, this is one of the most important tips for eliminating ghosts in Nightmare, and that's going to be listen to the ghost footstep speed during hunts. It is absolutely paramount that you get used to listening to what normal footstep speed is, which if you're not familiar with it, let me play a clip of that here. And then start comparing what the footstep speed is to that sound. If it's faster or slower, you're gonna pretty much know what the ghost is right away. And as an example of this, let's say that you have ghost orbs and freezing as your 2 evidence. We're gonna say you've already ruled out a mimic. So this makes the ghost choices possibly a revenant, Yurei, Hantu, or Onryo. If the ghost hunts and you hear that it is normal footstep speed, you know right away you can eliminate revenant and Hantu from the list. So now you're just down to Yurei or Onryo. And that's because revenants have super slow footstep speed outside of line of sight. And the Hantu's footstep speed is going to be based on the temperature. So in the ghost room, if the breaker is on, it's going to be really fast and then slow down outside of it to slower than normal speed. Or if the breaker is off in the whole house, it could be super fast everywhere. And so determining if the ghost is a Yurei or Onryo is going to be fairly simple after that. Just do a candle test. But that's not what this video is about. Let's go into the next tip, which is know which ghosts have forced evidence. In Nightmare mode, some ghosts will always be forced to have that piece of evidence, which means if you do not get that, then that ghost can be eliminated as an option. This sounds confusing. Let me make it a little bit simpler for you. Let's say you're playing and you have EMF 5 and ghost orbs as your piece of evidence. That would mean that the possible ghost choices would be a Raiju or an Obake. Now, Obakes are required to have fingerprints or UV evidence. That is their forced evidence. They will always have that in 1 or 2 evidence games. This means that the ghost could not be an Obake and would have to be a Raiju. You don't even have to test for it. The other ghosts that have forced evidence, Goryo will always have dots because of their ability to only show dots on video camera with nobody else in the room. Morois will always have Spirit Box because they can curse you. Deogens will always have Spirit Box because of their heavy breathing Spirit Box response. Obakes will always have Ultraviolet because of their extra fingerprint, as well as their ability to not leave UV evidence. Hantus will always have Freezing because of their ability to speed up in the cold. And while not technically evident evidence per se, mimics will always have ghost orbs, even on no evidence games, which is pretty neat. If this seems confusing, I do have a video that I'll link here in the top right that goes over this more in detail and give you more examples. Next tip may seem like a cop-out, but it's essentially just play Nightmare. Just do it. Because I truly believe that you can impress yourself with how well you can get through Nightmare mode. If you play professional and you get the ghost easily, fast, it's starting to get a little bit boring, shake things up and do Nightmare. I say just do it because I had a hard time taking this advice myself when playing Nightmare. I started being able to easily get the 3 evidences fast and professional. I would survive hunts and the game just didn't really become as hard. But I was super nervous and scared to try Nightmare because I had all these thoughts of Nightmare mode is going to be too hard. How am I supposed to play when I don't know my sanity? I don't think I'm that good with the ghost abilities. How can I determine the ghost? I was going through all this and then I just decided, all right, let me try and see. And I fell in love with the game mode. I didn't die. I got the ghost right majority of the time. There are still times you make mistakes and all that, but it truly opened up to making this game just so much more fun. And I know that you can have the same success I did. And if this did inspire you to try Nightmare mode, please leave a comment and let me know how that turned out. I always love to hear success stories and how much my videos have helped people in games. It's truly awesome. I always love reading those comments. But now let's go on to the final and most important tip, which of course seems pretty obvious for Nightmare, but start becoming familiar with ghost abilities and traits. Probably pretty obvious, but you're like, I don't even know where to start. So let's start with this first. Unofficial Phasmophobia cheat sheet put on by Taiban. Really great tool. I've mentioned it a lot in my videos because it's a great way to look at everything in one area. I haven't actually showed you the best way to use it though. So let's go through this example right here on playing a game, what evidences we get. So let me show you how to actually use it. So this game here, we have ghost orbs and dots as our 2 pieces of evidence. So let's use this site to help us start eliminating other ghosts. So here's the best way to use this cheat sheet. For evidence, change it to Nightmare so it has a better path for you over here. We have ghost orbs and we have dots. So we have a lot of different options here for possible ghosts. So if we didn't know what all of these ghosts did, we can start looking at it. So for a Banshee, unique scream through the paramic. Okay, that's going to tell us that maybe we should bring in a paramic and start listening to see, do we get a scream? For Urays, they can only ghosts that can close or interact with an exit door outside of a hunt or an event. But can also shut a door and drop the sanity of nearby players if a door is in the room. So we know based on that we may want to leave the doors open. Yokai, its hearing detection distance is 2.5 meters and less during hunts, which is the way I would recommend to test for a yokai. So this would tell you, okay, we're going to need to activate our electronics and see if the ghost will come to us. Talking near a yokai can cause it to hunt when you're at 80% sanity. Do keep that in mind. For Raijus, during a hunt, causes electronic disturbance at 15 meter range instead of 10 meters. And it has increased speed near active electronic equipment while it is hunting. So looking at that, it will tell us this ghost is going to be faster around electronic equipment during hunts. So when it hunts, will it be fast? For a Thay, age response on the Ouija board will change, but we also know that ghost ages over time. It's going to hunt you at 75% at the youngest, 15% its oldest. Biggest thing here though, 2.75 meters per second at its youngest, 1 meter per second at its oldest. So the hunt speed is going to be probably pretty fast, especially early on since it has a higher sanity threshold. So we would be looking at, okay, this is going to tell us for a Thay and a Raiju, their hunting speeds are going to be somewhat different because chances are you're going to have electronics on. So let's get hunted and see what happens. So we know based on this, it's normal speed, which means we can rule out a Raiju and a Thay. So whenever you eliminate ghosts, you can also do it here in the cheat sheet just by clicking this X, and it will gray it out, so it makes it a little bit better to look at what choices you have left and compare what you have to do next. For a yokai, we want to bring it near us, and let me show you what I mean. So see how the ghost went away and how it immediately came back towards us? That's how we know that this ghost is not going to be a yokai. Then the ghost did its door slam ability here, so we know that this ghost is going to be a Yurei. Now, there are actually 7 easy ghost traits or abilities that I would recommend learning first to help determine or even eliminate ghosts. So click or tap the screen now to watch that. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to all the channel members for the extra support. It truly does mean the world to me. Happy hunting, everybody, and I'll see you in the ghost abilities video.